The De'Longhi Magnifica Plus is one of the most versatile coffee makers in De'Longhi's lineup. If you want to see how it works, discover in detail all the drinks it can prepare, understand what maintenance it requires, and find out whether it really covers all the features you're looking for, don't miss this review. One of the main features that makes the De'Longhi Magnifica Plus stand out and sets it apart from more affordable models is its large 3.5-inch color touchscreen. Besides looking great and featuring nice animations, it's also very practical because it gives you easy access to all the machine's functions. From simple settings like customizing drinks to your preferences to more advanced options that are still easy to understand, because the machine guides you at all times with clear instructions on the screen. Another strong point of the Magnifica Plus is the wide variety of drinks it can prepare. Depending on the version, you can prepare between 15 and 18 different drinks. Since this is one of the most important features of this coffee maker, we'll show them all to you in detail so you can decide whether this is something you'll actually take advantage of. Let's start by taking a look at the black coffee drinks the Magnifica Plus can prepare. Specifically, this machine offers the drinks you can see on screen right now. As you can see, the difference between them mainly comes down to the amount of water and ground coffee used in each preparation. In addition, each of these drinks can be customized, within certain limits, by adjusting the amount of water used. But the best way to understand it is to see it in action. Let's start by preparing an espresso. As you probably know, espresso is characterized by using a small amount of water to achieve a more intense coffee flavor. As you can see, the coffee has a great color and that classic crema layer typical of espresso drinks. In this case, the machine comes pre-configured to use about 1.35 fluid ounces of water, although this amount can be adjusted to use more or less water. To make this adjustment, simply press the icon below the drink symbol and select one of the 4 available levels: S, M, L, or XL. Here you can see an example of the minimum and maximum espresso volume that this coffee maker can deliver. Another interesting feature is that you can prepare 2 espressos at the same time by placing 2 cups under the dual spouts. However, there is one detail about this function that I'm not completely convinced about. The machine doesn't grind coffee twice. Instead, it uses the same amount of coffee as for a regular espresso and simply adds twice as much water. As a result, these 2 espressos will be less intense than if you prepared them separately. Moving on to other drinks, within this same category we find the Doppio, which is essentially an espresso that uses both a larger amount of coffee and more water. During preparation, the machine grinds for a longer time, which shows that it uses a larger coffee dose. However, it also adds a significantly larger amount of water, so the result is not necessarily a much stronger espresso, but rather a larger one. Still, if you enjoy longer espressos, this can be a very interesting option. Looking at other drinks with a much higher water ratio, we have what Delonghi simply calls coffee in its models. As you'll see, the machine uses roughly the same amount of coffee beans as it does for an espresso, but adds much more water. Specifically, this drink is pre-configured to serve about 6 fluid ounces of water, although it can be adjusted to deliver between 3.4 and 8.1 fluid ounces. Because this coffee is diluted with more water, the result is a much smoother and lighter drink than espresso. And here it is, our coffee. As you can see, it still has a nice color and a good crema layer, even though it contains more water. Next, let's look at the filter-style coffee option. As you'll notice, the preparation is quite similar to the previous one. The difference is that halfway through the process, as you can see now, the machine performs a second grinding cycle. This means it uses twice as much coffee as in the previous preparation, resulting in a stronger, long coffee. In this case, the drink is pre-configured to use about 5.4 fluid ounces of water, slightly less than the previous drink, although it can be adjusted between 3.9 and 8.5 fluid ounces. The next drink is the Americano. This coffee is prepared by brewing an espresso first and then adding a generous amount of hot water. The result is a smooth and light coffee. As you can see, the color of the drink is noticeably lighter. Finally, the last option is hot water for tea or infusions. To prepare it, we need to remove the LatteCrema system and insert the hot water spout accessory that comes with the De'Longhi Magnifica Plus. As you can see, the machine starts dispensing hot water so you can easily prepare your favorite tea or infusion. The water temperature is quite high, so you won't have any trouble preparing tea or similar drinks. Here you can see all the black coffee drinks side by side, in the same order we prepared them, so you can better appreciate their differences. In addition to all these drinks, the Delonghi Magnifica Plus can also prepare iced versions of coffee and Americano. However, we should mention that this is probably one of our least favorite features of this machine. The only thing it really does is remind you to add ice to your glass. The drink itself is still brewed hot, just like the other recipes, so honestly we don't see much benefit in this function. Besides all these recipes, the Magnifica Plus also lets you use ground coffee, in case you ever run out of coffee beans or want to drink decaf coffee, which is one of the main uses of this feature. And, as with most coffee makers of this type, the Magnifica Plus also lets you adjust the coffee grind level. This function is not designed to be adjusted every time you prepare a coffee. It's more of a one-time calibration you can make to the machine, but it's quite useful if you're looking for a coffee with more body and aroma. Another very useful feature of the Delonghi Magnifica Plus is its user profiles. With them, you can save your favorite settings for each type of drink, so each member of the household can enjoy their coffee just the way they like it, at the touch of a button. And now let's move on to the milk-based drinks the Magnifica Plus can prepare, which are the ones you can see on screen right now. As you can see, the difference between each of them comes down to the amount of coffee, milk, and foam used in each preparation. A key point that makes it possible to prepare such a wide variety of drinks is that the Magnifica Plus includes a milk carafe like this one. It differs from other Delonghi models because it has a dial that lets you adjust the amount of foam depending on the recipe you're preparing. This is clearly one of the advantages of the Magnifica Plus compared to other coffee makers. But the best way to understand it is to see it in action, starting with a classic like the Cappuccino. This drink features an espresso base, with a quantity of milk and milk foam that roughly doubles the amount of coffee. Among milk-based drinks, it's considered one of the most balanced in terms of coffee-to-milk ratio, since, as we'll see later, other drinks contain a much higher proportion of milk. Another defining feature of a cappuccino is the generous layer of foam on top, as you can see here. You may also have noticed that for this recipe, the machine dispenses the milk first and then the coffee. This creates slight separation between the two layers and gives the drink its characteristic taste. The next recipe I'll show you is the cappuccino mix. As you can see, it's very similar in proportions of coffee, milk, and foam to the one we just prepared. However, the key difference is that the cappuccino mix dispenses the coffee first and then the milk. This allows the two to blend more, resulting in slightly different flavor notes. And if you enjoy this style but prefer a stronger coffee presence, you can choose the Cappuccino Doppio, which adds more coffee than the previous two. Here you can see the three cappuccino variations side by side. On the left is the cappuccino, in the center the cappuccino mix, and on the right the cappuccino doppio. Moving on to drinks with a higher milk ratio, we have another classic, the latte macchiato. For this recipe, the Magnifica Plus dispenses significantly more milk than coffee, resulting in a much milder coffee flavor. As you can see, it also includes a good amount of foam, although slightly less than the cappuccino. In this same category, we also have the Caffelatte. It's quite similar to the latte macchiato, but with subtle differences that give it a distinct character. In this case, it contains even more milk, but less foam than the latte macchiato. And if you prefer milk-based drinks where the coffee flavor stands out more and there's less foam, you'll probably love the flat white. This recipe uses double the coffee compared to the previous drinks, with a slightly higher milk ratio and just a small amount of foam. As you can see from the color, coffee plays a much more dominant role here. Once again, to help you compare them more easily, here are these three drinks side by side. On the left is the Caffelatte, in the middle the flat white, and on the right, the latte macchiato. Finally, we move to drinks with a much smaller proportion of milk or foam, such as the Cortado. This drink is also based on espresso, with a similar amount of milk and only a minimal layer of foam. In the same category, we have the Espresso Macchiato, which is traditionally an espresso topped with a small dollop of foam. In this recipe, however, a small amount of milk is also added. And to finish with the milk-based drinks, it's worth noting that you can also prepare hot milk, with or without foam, to enjoy on its own or combine with any drink you prefer. With the Delonghi Magnifica Plus, just like with almost any coffee maker, you'll need to empty the grounds container from time to time. Specifically, this machine can hold up to 14 used coffee pucks, which is a fairly large capacity and very practical because you won't need to empty it too often. Another thing to keep in mind is that the machine performs a rinse cycle to clear coffee residue from the internal circuits every time you turn it on and off. So you'll need to empty and clean the drip tray about every 10 drinks. As for the milk container used to prepare milk-based drinks, although it does include a self-cleaning function, honestly, we don't think it's especially useful because it only cleans the dispensing spout. As you can see, milk residue still remains in the rest of the system, so you'll need to clean it after each use. You can wash the parts by hand or in the dishwasher, but the less convenient part is that the system is made up of several pieces that you'll need to detach, clean one by one, dry, and reassemble once you're done. It's not especially complicated, but it is one of the less appealing aspects of this coffee maker in everyday use. Another important part of maintaining the Magnifica Plus is cleaning the brew group. About every 2 months, you'll need to remove the water tank and open this door on the right side of the coffee maker, where the brew group is located. To take it out, simply press the red tabs and pull it out. As you can see, it has some coffee residue that needs to be cleaned. You simply need to rinse it thoroughly with water, dry the brew group, then slide it back into place and press it in gently. Also, when you carry out this process, it's a good idea to take the opportunity to clean any coffee residue that may have built up inside the machine. And additionally, as with most coffee makers, you'll also need to descale it from time to time. This will vary depending on the type of water you use, but to give you an idea, the machine usually requires this process every 2 or 3 months. In this case, it's worth mentioning that descaling is easier on the Magnifica Plus than on some other Delonghi models, because the screen guides you through the process with clear, step-by-step instructions. And that would be the basic maintenance this coffee maker requires. It's true that cleaning and maintenance are never the most exciting part of buying a product, but it's important to know that all coffee makers with built-in grinders require maintenance very similar to what we've just seen. And once you taste the flavor and aroma of the coffee you can get from a machine like this, we're convinced the maintenance is well worth it. And so far, we haven't talked about another very important aspect of this machine, the design. The Magnifica Plus is a fairly compact coffee maker compared to other models in its category. It measures about 9.4 inches wide, 17.3 inches deep, and 14.2 inches tall. It weighs about 21.6 pounds. And when it comes to more practical aspects, we need to talk about the capacity of the containers. The De'Longhi Magnifica Plus has a water tank capacity of about 64 fluid ounces, a bean hopper that holds about 8.8 ounces of coffee beans, and a grounds container that can hold up to 14 used coffee pucks. If you want to know its price, you can check it through the link that appears on screen now. And if you want to discover other models that are a good alternative to this coffee maker, don't miss the videos coming up next. We hope you found this video helpful, and above all, that it helps you decide whether this is the coffee maker you're looking for.